It's working, yes. It's working. Well, what was I going to say? Yes. I think it might be an idea for me to make a log about the process of attempting to give up smoking cigarettes, to talk about nicotine addiction, in particular my nicotine addiction, and what I've been doing to try to break that addiction. Now, what can I say? Well, at the moment, roughly speaking, I am in my 10th week without cigarettes, without smoking. 10 weeks ago, I was smoking 30 a day, sometimes more, sometimes maybe less, but perhaps an average of about 30 cigarettes a day. Since this time, I have smoked no cigarettes. How have I done this? Well, it's been difficult, very difficult, but for me, I could not have lasted even 10 days in my 10 weeks without nicotine patches. Now, the nicotine patches which I've been taking are the 24-hour patches, and the regime of the patches is as follows. You start off on 21 milligrams for 6 weeks. That's if you smoke more than 10 cigarettes a day. This I've done. From week 6 to week 8, you drop down, then it's suggested, to 14 milligrams. This I have done as well. From week 8 to week 10, you drop down to, in fact, 7 milligrams, which I did. Now, how difficult has this been? Well, very variable, because, of course, a cigarette addiction is not only physical, it is psychological. There are certain situations which act as triggers for your desire for nicotine, certain situations which you would associate with smoking cigarettes, which start a sort of chain reaction of thoughts in your brain, making the compulsion to smoke into a strong craving. Now, this is dampened down by the nicotine patches, however. It's not completely cured because, of course, it provides help with the physical addiction, and the psychological addiction is something one has to struggle with and overcome oneself, really. However, these cravings did definitely diminish after about week 6. They're still there, but not as strong. Noticeably, they had quietened down. This fits in with the typical experience of smokers who are giving up. The week 6 is a sort of turning point. So week 6 to week 8, I felt confident to decrease my patch to 14 milligrams, which I did. And the first 4 or 5 days were a bit of a struggle, but after that I was managing fairly well. However, I had some problems then from week 8 to week 10. This is when you go down to the lowest dose of the nicotine patch, which is 7 milligrams. Oh, by the way, I've been buying my patches, and rather than having them prescribed. So if you are doing this, buying patches, and you are down to 7 milligrams, I would suggest buying a 14 milligram patch and simply cutting it in half. Thereby, you're, for the same price, getting 2 weeks' supply of 7 milligrams in the cost of 1 week's supply of 14. Because, of course, the 7 milligram and the 14 milligram patches cost the same. That's rather strange thinking about it, but there we are, that's the way it goes. Anyway, so from week 8 to 10, quite difficult, more difficult than 6 to 8, and the difficulty didn't diminish after the 5th day of week 8 to 10, to such an extent that I was starting to struggle, and I could foresee me going back on the cigarettes, which of course I didn't want to do. So what have I done about this? Well, what I've done is I've increased my patch again back up to 14 milligrams. I did this about an hour ago. Now, how this will go, I don't know. Whether this was a good move or not, only time will tell. But I feel much more upbeat and much less sort of depressed. But depression is also, of course, a side effect of giving up smoking. I feel okay with 14 milligrams. I feel like I've got more energy, and we shall have to see how this goes with time. But I would conclude from this that I know there's some debate about the link between nicotine and depression. Does nicotine cause depression, or does nicotine act as a sort of antidepressant? Because there's a correlation between people who suffer from depression and who smoke. If you smoke cigarettes, you're more likely to suffer from depression. Now, it's not understood fully which causes which. Does the smoker become depressed because they're smoking cigarettes? Or is the person depressed and therefore seeking a self-medication and finding that they can medicate themselves with the nicotine they get from cigarettes, and this acts as an antidepressant, and then they're hooked then on cigarettes, of course, with all the negative consequences of that. However, nicotine of itself, nicotine on its own, in the sort of dose range that smokers use it, actually does you no harm at all. It is the smoke, the drug delivery system, that destroys your body. So, as an experiment now, I've decided to go up to 14 milligrams and to see how well I do, how I'm feeling, if I continue to keep off the cigarettes for more easily than I have done for the first 10 weeks. Hopefully I will. So that's why I'm making this log, this sort of diary. So I will come back on here again in maybe about a week's time, or maybe less. Hopefully at that time I will still be abstaining from cigarettes, and by that time it'll be closer to 3 months, and I will see how I go from there, see how I feel, see if my idea of increasing the patch to 14 milligrams has proved to be a good one or not, and time will tell. So, for now I will sign off. Goodbye for now.